Welcome back, everyone, to the Strike Force Masters and Launch podcast. This is Chewburger84 running solo as a host again, and I'm very excited today as continuing our interview series for the best guilds in the game at the moment. We, of course, have the PantsofHulk Alliance. So welcome aboard today to Ambassador Al.
Hello, welcome.
Dark Fem.
Hi.
And Dismal Content. How are you, mate?
Great, how are you?
Not too bad. Is it Dismal Content or is it Dismal Content? I should have clarified earlier.
You know, that's kind of the point of the name, is to confuse. So it's either dismal or dismalcontent or dismal content, or you can kind of not really screw it up.
Or call him Dizzy.
Call him Dizzy. Nice. I feel like Dismal Content should be the name of my YouTube channel, given most of the content that's on there.
What a sad blog.
You've never seen my
right?
Alliance War performance either, so.
Oh man, we had a guttingly close war yesterday. I hate losing those ones way more than I do the ones where you get smashed, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty. So, look, thank you very much for all joining us today. Obviously, the interview, it was quite hyped up in our Discord chat. Everyone loves hearing from what it's like being in one of the biggest alliances in the game. So let's start off with Dizzy. How long have you been with PantsofHulk now?
Good thing I just looked this up. I'm at 39,600 keys, which apparently is 66 days.
Wow. Okay. Very good. And what about you, Duck?
Oh, I don't have anything that specific, but I know that I joined sometime in March of 2019.
Okay. Wonderful. And what about you, Ambassador?
I originally joined in January 2019, took a brief little hiatus for about a month, and came back in either late March, early April, and been there ever since.
Okay. Wonderful. So what was it like? Obviously, you were playing the game, most of you, for a lot longer than that. But let's start with you, Dark. What was it like transitioning from, I guess, a lower tier alliance into something like PantsofHulk?
It was really fun because I knew that there was somebody in Pants Wall who was my nemesis in Arena for a long time. And he was really fun, and I knew it would be kind of fun to be in an alliance with him. So I was kind of intimidating, kind of learning how the systems work. And there's a lot of organization, a lot of coordination. And so there's a learning curve. But everybody was very generous with their knowledge. So it was pretty seamless in some ways.
Okay, fantastic. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through a couple of questions here, folks. And then the difference between this interview and the one that we did last week is we've opened this one up to the community. So we've got a lot of questions from people that love to ask you guys a lot of questions. So let us know if we start overriding you with some of these. But let's kick it off out of the gate with Blue Luna 16 from our Discord, who asked the question, if any of you guys play solely on a smartphone, what is the average screen time you would have per week? Why don't we start off with you, Dizzy?
So I purposely don't look at my screen time. I feel like it would be probably pretty intimidating because I'm on Discord a lot. I actually am on my phone a lot for work already as it is. So it's kind of just like natural for me to switch through my apps. And then I'm around a lot for war and stuff like that. So it's probably a lot. I imagine I'm on more than 2 hours a day staring at something that's related to Strike Force.
And on that note, I know we don't want to get too personal with you guys, but there is one very popular question that gets asked about people in Cabal or PantsofHulk is, I wonder what these guys do for a living that they can afford to, do some of the things they do in this game. Without getting too specific, what sort of industry are you in?
I work in restaurants.
Okay, very cool. All right, does anyone else want to weigh in on their screen time? Or are we all scared of that metric? I know I am.
Well, I don't have a way to measure it, but I was looking at it, and I'm on my phone unless I'm asleep. So really from 7 a.m. to midnight, I'm on the phone. I'm just not always in the app, but I'm almost always in the app or on Discord or looking at it. I work as a broker for an online trading firm. So I'm never face to face with clients. I'm always on the phone with them, and whenever the conversation with them gets it sounds terrible to say, boring or tedious, like if they're resetting a password or I'm waiting for them to figure something out or hold on a moment. My eyes are on my phone looking at a thing, telling somebody to hit somewhere in a raid or whatever or what have you. So I'm always at least looking at it. I'm not always focused on it 24/7, but I'm always pretty darn close to it.
If it makes you feel better, when I'm recording with Roy, if one of us is boring the other one, we're secretly blitzing in the background. So I wouldn't feel bad about that at all.
Oh, always blitz. I blitz my drive.
And what about you, Doug?
Yeah, I mean, like these guys, I use an iPad, and I'm in higher education, and I actually am on my iPad so much of the time because I use an app called Canvas to communicate with my students. So I'm there a lot. I'm on Strike Force a lot. I'm doing a lot of other things, a lot of other apps. So like Al, I mean, probably when I'm awake, I'm on the screen, you know.
That's the thing. I don't think it's a Strike Force thing only, right? I think in this sort of day and age, most people in our age ranges, whether you're mid-20s, mid-40s, or anything in between, you're probably on your phone during conscious hours anyway.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's it. Whether it's Strike Force or Facebook or Grindr, whatever you're into, really. All right. So we have Some Beef Tacos ask the question. Obviously, we have character releases all the time. How do you guys approach a new character release? Like, are you getting ready for Blitz? Is it something where you always buy the packs? Why don't we start with you, Ambassador?
Well, good. Well, number one is I think all of us, we love new characters because that's like the cool time where we all get online at the same time and we all make fun of each other for how fast or how slow we are at unlocking the character and who got what and who hit the big red orbs or didn't hit any red stars or whatever. It's a great time to kind of trash talk back and forth, and there's always somebody who has gone nuts. But really, I wrote down a couple notes, but we really do kind of three-step process. One is, obviously whatever character. I mean, they could throw a character that was like, Aunt May with no abilities. We would still get on right away, buy her offer, buy her orb, do her blitz, do her event, hit milestones, whatever it was. We're gonna chase it. It's just what we do, and we're gonna race each other. Two, if we know about it ahead of time, we're gonna stockpile gear. I mean, I've already spent time stockpiling gear for Coulson, and it may be 13 days. I think we calculated was the minimum the minimum time you could spend to get them. And I'm trying to stock up, but somebody else will get him to T13 the first day he's available.
Yeah,
I know it. And we're also all going to sit there and hit that red star orb too. We've been banking orbs. We mostly have the same idea that whenever a new character comes out, you hit the red star orbs until you get to 4 or more red stars on the new character, and then you stop and you start banking up again for the next time, which is hard because it's so hard to not hit the little dot. I got my dot, got an orb, got to get it. But we just, that's what we do. When it comes out, we pounce, we go nuts, and then we go back to normal-ish for a while. But yeah, we go for it.
So you raised a very interesting point there. If Aunt May came to the game, would it make a difference to you whether it was Marissa Tomei or one of the previous actresses?
I'd want one of each. I want both. Full sets.
I like it.
It would
Different.
like having Deadpool the red suit, Deadpool the white suit. Either way, I want both sets. We're complete.
Absolutely.
I want Aunt May minions. We would get those. We don't care.
That'd be fantastic.
Her knitting circle or whatever. Yeah. We do it.
It feels like there's a dark twist coming where like there's a summon like sacrifice with Uncle Ben or something. I feel like this is where this is headed right now for this kid.
With great power comes great responsibility. Yes,
exactly. It. And then Spidey powers up. That's basically how it all powers out. We should be designing this game, guys.
It summons Dark Uncle Ben when he dies. We call him Dubstep, Dark Uncle Ben. I love it. Let's do it.
Nice. I like it a lot. So speaking of those red star pulls, how did everyone go yesterday with Coulson?
I got 2. Sucks.
I opened like 120 red stars, 8 elite 4s, and 2 elite 5s. My first orb I pulled was a regular orb, and it was a 4 red star Coulson, and I should have stopped, and I didn't. I just kept going.
You have to stop, bro.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got some good upgrades. I got 5-star Groot, Jessica Jones, and I got a 6-star thing. So I'm happy with the elites, and I got Coulson at 4 red. I just need to start saving again because I used everything. So
6-star thing, nice.
Absolutely. What about you, Doc? How'd you go?
So unlike the majority of the alliance, it seems I have a real problem with hoarding. Like it's really hard for me to kind of collect because I just want to spend as soon as I can. So I did manage to save about 25 red star orbs, and I did get a 4-star on Coulson, so that was pretty good. And I guess I'll just try to, I try to get to about 25, and for me that feels good. Whereas I know that there are people in the alliance who will have, a couple hundred orbs at any given time.
Wow. So there's a question about that coming soon that I'll leave it, but you guys definitely make you feel bad about my pulls yesterday. So very similar to Dark, I saved up all my reds for the last couple of weeks. I had 30 normal, I had 2 Elite 4 and 1 Elite 5. I opened everything and I got 0 account upgrades.
Oh man.
You got no
so disappointing
whatsoever.
I thought 2 was bad, but
wow.
Yeah. How about Bagel? That's how I pulled. That's not good. That's it. All right. So moving on to the next question, we have Fox Robin Hood. And he asked the question that obviously there is a little bit of a rivalry between you guys and Cabal sometimes. And he said, does it motivate you guys seeing their TCP as something to try and catch them on? Or does it feel like a carrot that you will never grasp, was his wording?
I think that it's going to be hard for us to ever catch the physical number of TCP just because they have some monstrous rosters. And, until those people leave the game, there's very hard to get 7 or 8 million CP to match. So I think for us, more than anything, we try to get people with whatever their roster is. Obviously, we have a minimum because we can't fall super far, but we want people that are going to bring their roster in and know how to use it. And I think that will that'll make us competitive with Cabal. I think Cabal has good players too. But I think, the game's getting to a point where CP is becoming more and more irrelevant because, especially in like War, you can only use so many characters. So
that's true.
There's a bottom half of their roster that I don't have my Hydra minions at 350k, but I've never used them for the last 2 or 3 months in War. So
that's true. That's an interesting point to raise, actually. Like, do you think that there is a certain TCP that you can hit where that matters? Like, for example, I'm guessing it's going to be 8 offensive characters, teams, and 8 defensive teams, all above. What TCP? What STP for each squad do you think is necessary to hit that level where you can kind of take on anyone?
Probably like at least $250,000 per team. So if you had really, I guess 8 defenses and I guess 9 attacks if you win 8 and lose 1, or maybe 10 attacks, 9 and 1 or something. If you have like 85, 17. If you had the perfect 4.5 million, you'd be okay. But really, 5 million's about where if you have 5 million, but it's really focused on those top teams, you could be just as great as someone with 7 million. You'd be right up there with them.
Do you think that point happens any earlier than that? Like, for example, if you didn't necessarily have the defensive chops to field 8 massive teams, do you think that if you just had 8 offensive monsters, that's enough?
It can be if you're very, very coordinated and don't lose a single match. Yeah, but because I'm just talking War here, right? For War, if you lose even one match, you're going to have to do 9 rounds and hope that they, if your opponent is in the same boat you are, then it's just simply a race. But if you can make them lose more than 24, or you lose, less than 0, I guess, then it's not a race. But for most alliances, it's going to be in the same refresh. So, we see more and more of that. Teams going lighter on defense and just saying, hey, I've got 9 great meta offense teams. As long as I use them in the right place, it's just going to be a race. And it's getting weirder. It's getting faster. It's how, in one way, I think it's how we lost to the one we lost to Power. That was kind of strange. Was we realized, hey, defense may not matter that much unless you're just really clever with it. It's getting harder to be. You can't just throw out a big team like a 400k, Hydra team. It has to be something that's tricky. You have to fool somebody to get wins right now on defense. So it's going to be weird. You don't have to have just brute force. It has to be something clever.
Absolutely. Because it is probably one of the most common questions we see on things like Discord now, which is the whole, guys, what is the best, War defense team? And I think that's kind of where it's heading. Like, there is no perfect defense team anymore because everything can be countered to an extent. And as long as RNG falls your way, you're going to knock it down, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking about the strategies. Like, what do you have to do? You have to, I guess, trick the other team into using too many of one type of counter that they can't use later. But
Mhm.
with 24 defenses and 8 per 192, is that really feasible? People have enough teams to beat enough teams. I mean, there's not, I can only use one team against this one team. It doesn't really exist.
Yeah, there's so many trump card offense teams right now, and there's not really a trump card defense team, which Coulson might change a little bit. But yeah, there's so many teams that you could basically hit auto with X-Men or Fantastic Four again. If they're 300K plus, you're going to beat 98% of defenses with those teams.
So bringing that up, do you think that is going to be the case with Coulson? Do you think he is that much of a monster from that kit that he is going to be the first meta defensive team?
Yeah, just between the healing and the reviving and then immunity on spawn and just a lot of buffs getting passed around, they're going to be tricky for sure. There's not going to be a lot of teams that are going to easily counter them, and I just don't think there's maybe one or two that they're kind of tricky on defense, but they each have 2 or 3 counters that work most of the time. So
yeah, I mean, with Coulson, I'll jump in a little bit. I think one of the issues I'm worried about going against a Coulson defense team is that he may have a 5-minute timeout because he just keeps reviving. You can't finish the damn team off. That's what I'm worried about, is stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward. If I see someone that has a 7 red star medic and a 7 red star Coulson, I think I'll just uninstall.
Run away.
Absolutely. So Dark, this question will take to you. Ironically, it's from someone else called Dark, not Dark family like yourself, though. I'll edit this question a little bit. So the other part of that question is, you were saying that you're a bit of a natural hoarder when it comes to some of these things, but you want to spend them straight away. What's the general vibe in PantsofHulk about spending on red stars specifically?
I think most of us are pretty, we pretty much buy as much as we can because we know that, our chances are going to get better the more we have. So, I pretty much buy every red star offer that's available. Unless I miss one. So, and I think that's pretty common. I don't know, you guys could kind of speak to that.
I'll say this, I'm red stars are probably the one part of the game I spend the least on compared to my other compadres, because I have so many characters. I have no 7 stars, but I have so many characters that have 4 red stars that I'm basically buying a dupe.
Yeah.
So I like to earn them I earn the red stars in blitzes. I'll get some of the package deals if I look at it and do the math and go, yeah, this is okay. But the one was always the 900 cores for 2 pulls or whatever. That's a sucker deal to me. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Even though I could, I look through and go, I could much more. If I spent 900 cores on energy, I could generate so much more gold and so much more gear. I'd rather get a character, get the gold and put a character to 72 than get another pull. Oh, look, I pulled 2 1-star aim infectors. Great, that was worth it. The duplicate orbs in this game are such a joke. It's my number one beef with any part of the game is being able to pull something you already have is just it's just so frustrating.
Especially $60 for a Elite 4 and then
that deal.
That is the
worst deal I've seen in weeks.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I don't think a lot of us bought. That one was a topic of conversation.
Oh, God. No, actually, I did pass on that one. And I will say that, I do get very frustrated sometimes when I feel like I'm playing a slot machine, Yeah.
You are.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, that's something we talk about a lot on our podcast. We had the pleasure of interviewing one of the guys out of the UK earlier last year that actually did the research on loot box gaming and like how similar they are neurologically speaking to slot machines. And you're not wrong. Like it lights up the same parts of the brain that they do. So you're exactly right. Exactly right. But that's a good point that was just raised. I'll bump this one to you, Dizzy. So we all see that the Red Star rework, I put that in inverted commas as much as I can there. The Red Star rework that happened a little while ago, like they sort of nailed it as now you can have a bit more control on direct progression for the characters that you want. Now, for a lot of us, we can obviously do the maths on it and go, it doesn't look like all those dupes really are that good value in the long run. but you probably see it in actuality a lot more than us. Do you find that with all those dupes, it actually does end up being able to get you a 7-star, or is it just as rubbish for you as it is for us?
Well, I have 7 red star total, so
Right.
I haven't hit that lucky. I have a ton of 6. I think I have like 26 red stars at this point.
Oh,
Wow.
And most of them are pretty good. There's probably 10 minions out of the 20, but I got some really good, like Phoenix, Captain Marvel, Fury. So I have some really, really good ones. I think that the rework, and especially the credits for the supply store, are really bad. There is no value up until a 6 red star orb. Like converting those into credits is great because you can buy basically a 5-star and 4 stars for the price of 1 6-star. But by the time you have ever accumulated that many Elite 6 credits, you already have your whole roster at 4 red star anyway. So it's kind of pointless at that point. Like, I don't have anybody that's under 4 red stars right now. And so, like, it feels like basically every time I open, I'm going to open dupes unless there's a new character. And then I get excited by the percentages and I try to pull for, upgrades in that sense. So
I think you guys are blowing apart some preconceived notions here, because of course everyone assumes that you guys are being in the alliance that you are. You've all got like half your roster's 7 red stars, all that sort of thing. It's great hearing you guys have just as much crappy luck as the rest of us.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I mean, I think the rework. I mean, I'm basically, when I pull orbs, I'm hoping for a 4 dupe instead of a 2 dupe, so I can eventually pull an Elite 4 and maybe have a chance at getting something good. But even then, I'm like, please let me hit a 5 dupe instead of a 4 dupe so I can get further along the chain of dupes. That's all it is.
The bar is so low, isn't it?
It's ridiculous. I'm praying for the best duplicates I can buy. That's so silly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh well, what can we do about that particular game mode, I guess? All right. So this question comes from Gunny. Let's go to Ambassador on this one. What was the thought process for you guys in regards to creating the PantsofHulk raid orb? How did you decide on which characters you put in? Was there any restrictions we don't know about?
Well, there were definitely restrictions, and I didn't write them all down, but people always ask, "Hey, how come you didn't include this character, that character, this character, that character?" Well, you can you can bet it's because we weren't allowed to do it. We couldn't pick Captain Marvel. That wasn't going to happen. If somebody left off the list, it's because we couldn't do it. We have certain ones that were locked in. They knew they're going to Hulk in there, so it's in there. I don't have the details. I didn't write down which ones we were going to pick, which ones we couldn't pick. But we basically went through and said, okay, of what we're allowed to pick from, step one, is there anything that any of us actually need that would be on this list? Just selfishly, and it's like, no, not really. It wasn't going to happen. And 2, it's like, well, we want people to pick our orbs. So how would we pick if we were them? Well, we'd pick the ones that we don't have 7 stars on, the ones that you couldn't just farm your way to get, the ones that you weren't going to be super easy to get. And then number 2 was like of those, and we pulled our alliance. We put a poll to our whole cluster. We opened up to everybody. Say, hey, vote on which of these are the top 10 you'd want that you don't have, and would be hard to get, and do you think people actually would like and want to use? So it's one thing to say it's hard to get, Merc Soldier, but who the hell cares, But if we figured it was hard to get, Psylocke or Colossus or whatever, then that's where the upvote went. And then we drafted back and forth, but we really thought, hey, which ones are people going to actually go, I just need one more, because we know they're not going to pull a ton of these orbs anyway. No one's going to pull 50 champions orbs. So we wanted ones that they were at least close on or had worked on, and were frustrated that there wasn't one more offer or one more pull or one more drop kind of thing. That's how I looked at it.
There's another preconceived notion that, like, I saw a lot of people when we first started doing it, like, oh, these guys all have everything 7-star anyway, so they're going to troll us. They're going to pick Wolverine, and like, there's not a single member in PantsofHulk that has 112 characters at 7-star. There's people that have 111, but there's nobody that has everybody. So like, there's characters that all of us want, and yeah, you can bet that if they're not in the orb, if all the Fantastic Four, none of us had those 7-star. when this orb came out. So like we wanted to put him in there. We just didn't get the opportunity to pick those. So
Absolutely. See, I can't be trusted with that kind of power. I 100% would have put Wolverine in there because we all know that Wolverine must be in every orb in the game. That's just how it works. All right. So this question's not on the sheet, but so many people ask this question that I know Ali Mir sent through a bit of a statement on it. He can't be here at the moment, but from what you guys have told me, Dark Femme is the real leader of this alliance anyway. So Dark Femme. That's it. We're actually staging a coup mid-podcast, guys. So
He's our spirit animal.
Dark
What do you
Femme,
want?
do you want to read out the little response that Ali Mir sent through? And this is in regards to why is Pants of Hulk called Pants of Hulk? We had so many variants of that question, like why not Shorts of Hulk? Surely when he hulked out, he lost his pants. Like there were so many different variants. So Ali Mir has sent through a brief history of his pants. So I'll hand that over to you.
Sure, it's a couple paragraphs long, and it's called The Brief History of My Pants. This all started when I was looking for a new game to play after Marvel Future Fight. I started that game way too late and didn't want to keep spending to catch up. I joined Marvel Strike Force 2 to 3 weeks after launch. I've almost always started my own alliance when I start playing a game like this because one of the best aspects for me is building an alliance from the ground up. In Marvel Future Fight, I played with a guy named PantsofHulk. I thought it was funny. It always seemed to get a laugh from others, so I decided to make it my alliance name. Shortly after I started to recruit for the alliance, I was able to land an incredible player by the name of Baymax. I quickly made him a captain, and he helped teach me how to play the game, and was directly responsible for the incredible organization we have now. He stayed with me until just a month ago. Once establishing, I set my standards high and always held people accountable. Don't finish raids, disappear, etc., you are replaced. Anytime a spot was going to be open or a guy needed to be replaced, I aimed for better and better people, gathering the most active, skilled guys I could. Soon we were a top 10 raid alliance and others were starting to take notice. I approached the leader of a group by the name of Hammer to merge a group of guys into our alliance. From there, after the merge, we now had the firepower to take on the top alliance, at the time HFCNY, for the #1 raid spots. Our first season, we ended up second, but from there, all but one season where we tried to get greedy and get first back-to-back, we have finished with 400 orange mats. After making sure my alliance was set, I set my sights on expanding into a cluster in October 2018. Our current cluster of 9 alliances is a year's worth of work from many individuals and leaders, without whose help none of this would be possible.
Very cool. I forgot all about Hellfire Club. I remember they were at the top of the game at one stage. I feel like every mobile game I play, if I sign up and I scroll right to the top of who's on leaderboards, it's always Hellfire Club. They are everywhere, those dudes.
Are they gone now?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen that name in quite a while. It's interesting, though, that they were up there for such a long time and then just kind of poofed into non-existence. Maybe they rebranded. Who knows?
Yeah, they merged with somebody, but then I don't know what happened.
I'll look into that off air, actually. They'd be interesting to follow up. All right. So Ruben Dizzy, he is asking, what is your most underrated character or team in your opinion? Who's someone that we're all sleeping on?
I guess I'll throw 2 in here. I think that Doctor Strange is one of the people that I turn to the most when someone's like, who's going to counter this? I'm like, Doctor Strange. The buff flip, I think that he might be a good counter for Coulson. We'll see when that team all gets put together. And then the second one would probably be Ant-Man because of the that first turn ability block, the slow, and I think he just kind of works across the board. And those people kind of hate on both of those characters for being a little squishy, but I think they both have really, really, especially in Alliance War, tons of use.
What about you, Ambassador?
Those are good ones. I think what I wrote down was I think some of this the old Avengers team. I know there was a point in time when they were the meta, the dinosaurs that once ruled the earth. But I still feel like Black Widow and Quake and even occasionally Yondu can be actually pretty darn useful depending on the game mode. You have to have certain spots for them, but especially Black Widow, probably because she's the first character I got to up to 7 stars and T12 and then T13 and the first one I put a T4 Matson too. So it's always like oh, she's so great. But she really is handy. I mean, if you're against a team, she goes stealth mode. She applies those double bleeds when you've got it upgraded. She can do lots of pretty good stuff. Especially, I like to use her with Spider-Verse. I know it's Black Widow, but it really does actually work with them because she breaks chains, so you can't use brawlers against them as well. And I don't know, she's got a lot of uses that you wouldn't think about. But yeah, Ant-Man and Strange are on my list as well. But I just can't get away from those old Avengers.
Great. And Dark?
Well, I guess I will say that I have a soft heart for Wasp, and I think that she could hit really hard, and I used to use her a lot. And I put her with like Vision for a little bit of defense up, and even Rocket at times because she'd get a little bit more power, a little bit more damage from him. I guess I do have a thing for blasters, I will admit. So, I wish that she would get a little bit of a rework because she's really fun to play with. And I kind of feel like, she could be a lot more useful if she was a little more powerful.
All right, so this question comes through from Kareem, and he asked the question, what does it take to be a PantsofHulk member in regards to like participation daily, Stark Tech donations, certain expectation of whaling? I know you may not be able to answer this entirely, but Ambassador, what do you want to share there?
Well, I would say the biggest thing is you got to be active in the game, active on Discord, be part of the team, don't disappear for anything. That's number one. As far as numerical stuff, I mean, we do require the 125 donations. People think we do the max donations. We don't. We're not that crazy. You do the math and it's just not worth it. Even for us, like I said, we're crazy whale spenders, but we have limits. We like to be efficient with what we do. We do the 125, and we ask that you do your 600 keys every day for, your for raids, and we have a little room where you check in and say, hey, I did my keys. That's really the bare minimum, and just always be growing, always be involved, always check in, do your stuff, be a good teammate. There's no requirement saying, oh, you must spend this much money per month, you must do this much whatever. If you're not doing at least 4 million damage per raid, there's none of that kind of stuff. It's just that we basically demand full participation because that's what we do. Beyond that, I'm sure war, you must be in war. If we're playing a top 10 alliance, you got to use, I think it's a separate question on your list, I know, but you got to use all your attacks, use all your boosts, be involved, be available. If you're not going to be there, tell us ahead of time, check in, be responsible, don't just go MIA. It's that kind of stuff. There's no things saying, oh, you must be taller than this sign to be in pants. You must grow from here to here. We've had plenty of people, including myself. I'm in the bottom 5 of our CP, and it doesn't matter. I'm an officer. I'm in there way too many hours per day. No one's saying, boy, that guy's really slacking. If only he had 7 million CP. We don't play that game. People probably think that we do, but we really don't. The big thing is, are you pulling are you pulling on the rope? It's tug of war, and if we're all tugging, we're all going to win. That's how we look.
Absolutely. All right, so this question will open up to all of you again. So starting off with Dizzy, which characters do you think are the most deserving of a rework right now? And that one comes from Chair Lawn.
I mean, it's got to be Thor, and it's coming.
Right.
It's coming.
Yes!
That's the part of the reason we put him in the raid orb, because I think people forever looked at Thor and like, oh god, this guy's trash. He's so slow. He doesn't do any damage. His ultimate sucks. It takes 12 turns to charge or whatever. So I think it's got to be Thor. It's coming, which is nice. I think there's definitely deserving characters outside of him, but like the guy's the god of thunder, he's so slow. I always call him the god of molasses. That's my term for Thor. So it's like Jesus. So I'm really glad to see it.
Absolutely.
Again,
Dark, what about you? Is it going to be Wasp again?
Oh, probably Wasp. Yeah, I mean, I think I would say Wasp and Thor.
And Ambassador.
Well, I wrote down Thor. I said, if you're not going to make him good, go ahead and change his skin to Fat Thor and get it over with.
Yes. I want Bro Thor in this game so bad.
Right. I mean, come on. If you're just going to bro it up, whatever. Bro it out. Beyond him, I think that's the. I was trying some other ones. I thought of Nebula, who I kept thinking would be great. I have one of my friends in the game was like, got her to like 6 red star and T13 and maxed her ability, just loves Nebula. I'm like, she is terrible compared to the expense of investing in her. It's like, well, if you pass a certain point, she can be great. I'm like, yeah, but she's never as great as she should be based on her skill set and how it looks on paper. It never really works. And then her sister, Gamora, same thing.
Yeah.
She's slowly dropped off of the Guardians because there's other Guardians who are better than her, and it's really kind of silly. I mean, the meta she should be right up front, but they just squeezed her out. It's kind of crazy how she's gotten diminished to be like, hey, she could be a brawler. She's like the 9th best brawler and the 8th best Guardian, and hey, she's green. Could make an all green team. I mean, she's just and she really shouldn't be pushed to the sideline like that. So those are mine: Fat Thor, Gamora, and Nebula. Really just needs a chance.
So speaking of Nebula, that goes naturally into Beef Taco's question, which is there any investments you've made in the game that you've come to regret?
I went really hard on Carnage when he first came out, and
oh my god, me too.
I put T4 on special, ultimate, and passive, and like, man, I wish I could have all those back.
Right.
I worked on Spider-Verse. Yes, all of the Spider-Verse were completely Miles. I mean, I went so hard on Miles' milestones and the extra things to get every little shard and every little piece of everything. And it's like, yeah, he's on the sideline. I use him maybe once per war if a team needs to disrupt on the tank. And yay, woo. It's so ridiculous. Carnage for sure. Venom is somewhat useful, but not that great. The whole Spidey team just is such a letdown.
Absolutely. Now, OBJM was asking the question, obviously, there is some demands that you guys have. I think they're more than reasonable from what you guys just described. But is there a level of burnout in the Alliance? And if so, what's the main reason for it? Is it the time? Is it some of the bottlenecks? Is it the RNG? How would you answer that, Fem?
Well, I can only speak for myself. I mean, I think I occasionally will have a bad day, especially if I feel like I'm trying to build up a character and I just can't. I think a couple of characters I only have 3 red stars on, and I just feel like I can't move them any further, and that's pretty frustrating. But I will say that I don't really experience burnout, and I think when I was thinking about it today, I think a lot of it has to do with the people in the Alliance. I mean, everybody there is really fun. I learned so much, and I will say there are 2 captains here today, but the guys who run this Alliance are brilliant. They understand the ins and outs of the game that I couldn't even really begin to wrap my head around. And so I really appreciate that. I've learned so much from them. And so for me, there's always more to learn about this game. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate the generosity of the people in the Alliance. So I guess that's what I'd have to say about it.
That's good. I think a lot of Alliances, the people really make it. Like, I think I would have quit a long time ago if I hadn't met some of the people that I met, specifically our guild leader, Darth Longstride. Like, he's definitely one of the reasons that he talks me off the ledge, I'd say once every 2 or 3 months, for sure. All right. So, Dizzy, we'll pass this one to you. And this is from Boagris. And she asked the question, what is your version of the whole Ultima 7 tie thing?
So this happened before I was in Pants. So I have kind of an outside view of it. I think that the system to begin with was not set up for anything to be fair. And a lot of stuff happened after that, but I don't think that there was a thought process into how to actually put this competition together. I still kind of think that they are catching up to themselves in terms of what their response is to all of these things. But I don't think any of the drama would have happened had it been a one-on-one fair who actually gets it faster. There's way more variable than that. And to pretend like there's not was a mistake, I think.
So how would you have improved the structure of it to make it more of a competitive situation?
I just don't think that you can use things that are tied into someone's time zone in terms of like
Yeah.
a global game. You're trying to have competition between global alliances. Like Pants was designed around US time zones for that exact
Hmm.
reason. And like it's always been a factor in the game, and it was thought about for Pants, and unfortunately Cabal, I think, was at a disadvantage because of the way the competition was set up. So
Hmm.
honestly, you have to give everyone the keys at the same time, let them know it's going to happen or whatever it is, and say, okay, here's your start button, and as soon as you're done, that's your timer, it's over. And then you go head to head, who is fastest. That's great.
Mhm.
It's not like who was the fastest to generate and who showed up on whatever it is.
I think that's a very, very good point. As an Australian, I can say feel like we get ripped off on our time zone more than anyone, just because things like Blitz, we only get half the Blitz energy that you guys get. So many things, time zone needs to be addressed. Could not agree more with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the strange things where the game has 2 different reset times.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was one universal reset, like the 8 p.m., it's right now 8 p.m. Eastern United States it's when blitzes end. That's when milestones end. It's when the shop resets. It's when everything else resets except your ability to generate keys, and that goes to your own local midnight, which is just, I think, insane because it causes all these what I call just time zone shenanigans, where it's like, oh, you have an advantage. You have an advantage in blitz if you're west coast of the U.S. because you can get 2 full rounds of refreshes before your midnight rolls around, whereas I only get 1 East Coast before my midnight rolls around. There's always little stupid loopholes and exploits people try to take advantage of for the time zones that just wouldn't exist if there was simply one reset for everybody and it was at the exact same synchronized time. It's ridiculous. So that's on Fox Next to fix. It doesn't, we went back and forth and we talked trash with Cabal and they talked trash with us, but the reality was basically we planned ahead for it a long time ago by building a team full of people in the U.S. because we knew that would eventually be a problem for people outside the U.S. And that may be unfair, but that's what we did. And then they went around and did things, as far as we know, to adjust their time zones to make it more fair, which some people call it cheating. I don't think it's cheating. I think it's more, if it's a broken system, they try to make it more fair because they were at a disadvantage. It's just a bad system. The one thing I'll add 2 things on the topic. One is we got the first one done first. So that was pretty cool. As our little internal tiebreaker, point of pride, we got the first ever U7 launched and done first. and two, of all the goofy prizes, like, what did we actually win?
Yeah.
I think the coolest thing we got was we got this champions raid, and our little name pops up on top of the little ships. That's kind of cool. So we're kind of in the game forever. The way Widowmaker has his name on a billboard in the background of some of the blitzes. I mean, it's not super huge for all the fighting and the stress and the back and forth and the name calling and all that kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a game. We had a blast doing those raids. I didn't sleep for that whole 3-day weekend. We just went nuts over the 4th of July. It was just ridiculous, crazy stuff. And it brought us all closer together. But to hopefully all the controversy stuff, it just, in the big picture, it didn't matter at all. We had a great time playing it. We loved the challenge. That's what we do. And
that's great. Yeah. We're looking forward to see how they do that, actually, where they end up putting permanently whoever's orb got picked, where they end up doing it like Widowmaker. Very interesting. So BGod316, let's park this one to Ambassador. Do you think the rewards in the game are too heavily skewed towards people who place first? And do you think there's something that could be done to allow for a more competitive field for players or alliances?
Well, I overanalyze this like every other question you had.
Okay.
But I went through and now the thing is, I don't have a lot of experience with some of the lower tiers, and it sounds obnoxious or snobby, but I have a little experience being in the top tier of the game like this, and I spent a lot of time in the tier just below this, where you're probably, you're not getting the top 3 rewards anything, but you're getting that 1 to 2%, 3 to 10% kind of thing. So always in the top 10% of the game, because I've always been a little nuts, but not quite this nuts of a group. But I think this game does a better job than most of taking care of that tier, the not quite the top 2, 3, 4, 5 alliances in the game, but knocking the door. They're down to about the top quadrant of the game. I think they do a good job of scaling and taking care of things. The we do a blitz, the top 1,500 players get prizes, not just the top 2. I played plenty of games where there's a huge drop off from like number 10 to number 11 as a player out of the thousands and thousands of thousands. So I think they do a good job of taking care of the top quadrant, maybe the top half, and having it kind of scale reasonably. I will say at the very top, the change from the rewards from top 1% to number 3, for example, in raid season or war season, are just huge, and from 2 to 1 is gigantic, I think. And there definitely is a cumulative effect of, we saw it for hitting war season, getting 250 instead of 400 orange mats, OJs, T4 mats, whatever you want to call them, adds up, because what happens is then everyone in the top alliance can upgrade their top characters faster and faster and faster, making it harder and harder to beat them, and it can become kind of a self-perpetuating system. I don't think it's quite as horrible as that. Obviously, the game has other ways to kind of level the field a bit, because we did beat them in war, and it can happen. But that was, I think, more just the game balance shifting around. But at some point, it could be a bigger problem. I don't think it's as big as people think it is, but I think the bigger gap is 1 to 2, and then from 3 to the rest is a huge drop off. And it's just not. It's not ideal for sure, but like I said, I played a lot worse. I wish they would make it, if it was 350 to 300 or 300 to 200, or I don't know, whatever the gap might be, but it's not terrible, but it's a little off the top and a little off from middle to the bottom where you get nothing. But I don't know.
And on a similar vein to that, Grimnos asked a question. We'll pass this one to you at the start, Dark. Is basically, would you prefer to always be in alliance wars facing alliances in the top 10 in a separated war bracket, like say a Diamond League or something just for yourselves, get a boost in rewards for it, so you're always being competitive, so that no one, like from say 150th place ends up being up against you in war? What would you guys prefer?
I mean, I could speak for myself, and I think that would be really, really fun and challenging. I would prefer if we did something like that to go down to like 2 wars a week, because it is kind of stressful, and we have to be there, and timing is so crucial, and coordination is so crucial when you're going up against an alliance that is a top 10 alliance. So I think that would be really fun, and the coordination part is very exciting, but it also it takes a lot out of me. So I would prefer to go down to 2 wars a week. That would work for me.
I think the one thing that I learned, because I was in, I think 289 was my TCP before I joined the Pants cluster. I realized it's a completely different ball game in the top 10 alliances. Like, we know exactly who we're going to get in every time zone.
Yeah,
there's a lot less guessing game. Like maybe it's a choice of 1 or 2 alliances. It might be the 9th rated, or it might be the 11th rated. Like, I don't think we've ever fought lower than 20 since I've been here, and I like it like that. Even the TCP is so drastic that even like below top 10, it's not really fun for us.
So staying with you, Dizzy, Nick BO308 asked the question, what led to the win against Cabal? He's asking, I'm reading it from him, this is not me, was it a one-time fluke, or are you confident that you can keep doing it?
I am confident that we will not win every war, and we will not lose every war against Cabal. That would be my confidence. I think that all we did was reduce our losses for the most part, and that it sounds very simplified, but that's a combination of 1,000 factors of changing defenses, changing offenses, building teams, blitzing with the teams, making counter lists for who we're going to use them for, like all kinds of things. So there's so much variable, again, that, one thing goes wrong. They had 2 teams left when we won. So like it was as close as it's going to get. And it's going to, I think most of the time with any of the top 4 wars, I think all of us are going to be in the same refresh, or maybe if we have a bad war, we're 1 refresh behind them. So I think it's always going to be close, and I don't think it was a fluke, but I also don't think that we're going to win every single time. It's just not going to happen. There's too much gap.
All right, getting into the last questions, guys. Thank you so much for your patience and time with this. So we're going over to Boss Hokey. Let's go to you, Ambassador. How much turnover do you have at season's end within the cluster? Do you find that players are still rotating in and out, even within PantsofHulk?
Well, as an alliance, we really have very little turnover. It's people may be surprised to learn that, I guess, but or maybe not. Maybe they think, hey, once you get into a top 1-2 alliance, you kind of park yourself there, and it's the ones who are super dedicated to playing every single day, and the ones who have gone through the burnout phases and don't have anywhere to go. This is where they want to be. We generally turn over maybe 1 or 2 at most in a month. I mean, whether it just doesn't happen too often. When it does, it kind of goes in a little clump. Oh, we replaced 3, but there's not much turnover. Usually, if anything, it's because someone's taking a break or going on vacation or not going to be available or what have you, or something else happens. But we've had I think the core that I've been with since really January, February, March, we've had at least, and I gotta say, I think I might be moving up to number 12 in seniority now, and I've been there for 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of crazy how stable it's been, and even that is when people have jumped out and jumped back in, who've probably been in longer than I have total, but just took a small break. So there's really not much turnover in our alliance. In the cluster, there's more, but not that much. It's surprisingly stable. It's a cool bunch of guys and gals who just are dedicated to playing together and having fun. I don't know. It's a lot less than you'd think.
That's how you know people have been together for a while, where you just place yourself that you are exactly 12th in like the rankings within that squad. That's it's very specific. I like it. All right, so Dark, question from Immort, and I think you guys briefly touched around this earlier. So at the level that all of you are, do you find that some of the parts of the game get stale because you are so close to completing all the rosters? Obviously, as you said before, you get really excited about a new character. But do you find that there is parts of the game where you're just like, oh, I'm just so over this?
Well, for me, I just don't blitz very much. I find it really repetitive. I get bored very quickly. I like to go into the blitz area to kind of test teams out, and actually my husband will kind of blitz for me to get me up to, the tier where I could actually bring teams in and kind of play around with them. So when we have milestones and things like that, I do try to do my share, but I just find it very tedious, and it just seems to place and to get any kind of rewards, you pretty much have to be blitzing, every 2 hours, throughout your day, and that's just too much for me.
Absolutely. What about you, Dizzy?
Yeah, it's blitz for me too. Especially the characters that I have at 7-star. I've found a competition with myself where I try to hit like as close to 750,000 as I can, because it's more fun for me than actually doing the blitz. There's teams that like I just won't even run blitz with because like I am so sick of using Fury Shield that I don't even use them. It's just kind of boring. So I find myself using blitz credits more than I should because like I'd rather run with Fantastic Four 5 times than use Fury once, So like that's the kind of thing that's the teams that are like, you hit the same buttons every single match no matter who you're fighting is kind of like it's kind of old for me.
Absolutely. Actually, it's funny that you say that about the 750k thing. Very recently in the Alternate Reality Alliance, one of our new captains, who's a bit of a lad, actually, he's bringing in a lot of good vibes. He started a Blitz micro penis channel, which is basically who can get as close to 750k with not going over. It's quite fun, actually. So yeah, it seems to be there is a bit of a vibe of that getting around. And Ambassador, what about you? Anything in the game that feels a little bit stale to yourself?
Well, I think two things I was going to add. One is blitz, of course, but number one for me is arena. I cannot stand arena. I don't think I ever really liked arena, but especially once we got Phoenix and anybody can beat anybody, and then it's all a question of coordination and slingshot and all these things.
Yeah.
I looked at it and I was like, you realize the reward difference between being first like 11 to 20 is the same. Like I always end up in the top 50. If I slack and don't really bother, I'll end up like 55th. If I bust it and want to go crazy, I can end up top 5 just based on activity. But it's pointless. I can't stand it. It's the same fight over and over, and the rewards are basically garbage. So I basically say, hey, if somebody else wants to sit here and play 10, 15, 20 and spend their cores, spend cores to win cores, hey, let them have it. I don't care. And my number 2 is orbs. Specifically, any orb that gives you characters then gives you duplicates. I don't need more ultimate shards. It's the very worst part of the game. Spending an orb to get something you already have to get more, like spending ultimate shards to get things which turn into ultimate shards is ridiculous. I had an idea that we should have some sort of an orb trade-in station. Even if it was a terrible trade, like I would trade 1,000 basic orbs, which I do actually have saved up 1,000 basic orbs because I just refuse to use them. 1,000 basic orbs for like 10 red star orbs pulls or something, or I have like 300 milestone orbs because I have my 7-star Captain Marvel and everything else in there is junk. And I'm hoping to God they put Coulson in there and that'll help me out at some point. But if there was a way to trade those in, because I'm a hoarder, and if they're not useful, I'm not going to cash them in. And I have so many. I mean, we do these, the champions raids or the beta raids and alpha raids, and those orbs are garbage for anybody who's played the game longer than a year, like a lot of us have. And you can't do anything about it. You can't just save them up. You can't. I would turn them in for gold. I would turn them in for like one piece of gear. It's that part is just super frustrating. Yeah.
I'm surprised nobody said Ultimus 6 because it's like so mundane that I don't even recognize it anymore. It's just like hit the button, hit auto, and walk away.
Hey, if it's one place I can use my Wakanda Apex raid team.
Oh my god. Premier raid team confirmed. I love that that's a running joke with you guys as well. It's not just us. Yeah. Because you guys would probably have max them, right? With T4s and everything.
One of our guys, he hate me, has every single one at level 71, 72, all T13, all T4s on all 20 T4s spent. And he's still like, yeah, they're still pretty good, you guys. But even he can't pull it off and say they're awesome. They're not. Even at that level, a waste, total waste.
Yeah, I got to 10 T4s in that team. I'm like, am I missing something? Like, I don't I know what it is. But funny enough, you mentioned Ultima 6. Like, obviously, when you're streaming things like Blitz or Ultima 6, you're like, God, how do I make this interesting for people? So we've actually taken Ultima 6 and we have a game for our people on the stream where they just pick literally any random characters they want. So yesterday it was like, all right, pick the 5 thickest characters in the game. It's like, all right, so we got Jugs, yeah. And then it's like, all right, only blonde people. So that's actually invigorating for me. And I got to admit, it's pretty good. Like, I actually look forward to Ultima 6 now, only for that reason. But it turns out even like random squads on paper you think are going to be terrible, Spider-Verse as a synergy team still worse.
I think that's a good thing they should actually do with Fear the Darkness that I've been thinking is like, why don't they have it every month it resets and you have to try to play through it with Hydra or you have to try to play through it with Ravagers and like whoever gets the farthest gets a achievement award or whatever, like that gives you some new content and it also like just uses some other characters that no one uses, like, and you can choose to do it or not, but like it would be fun to have it reset but not just be running it with Minerva and
I was going to say there's the
Ultron.
difference in spike reduction right there. Just no Minerva, like that's the only condition they put in. Like 90% of us are out.
Yeah. You don't have to beat it. You just have to, like if you get through 3 levels with your Hydra minions, like good on you. Here's 100 orange mats.
That would be bad, actually. All right, final 3 questions, guys, and they're specific about teams in the game, so we'll finish it off nice and fun. So Law Burns asked the question. Let's start off with you, Ambassador. Do you prefer the Fantastic Four, and we're taking Namor out of this equation here, on war offense or war defense?
Well, I'll say this. I've been using, I think we all have been using mostly on offense, especially because we were using Namor. But now that we have an Invisible
Mhm.
Woman, we're starting to looking at using her more on defense. Or I think a lot of people have been talking about maybe even breaking up the squad and saying, hey, I'm gonna use the Namor guys and the ones that work with Namor well over here, and use Invisible Woman over here doing her barrier thing with some other teams and mixing and matching. I think there may be some sort of split up. I don't know that people are going to run the traditional 4 as a defense team. They may use her with a defense team, but I think they're going to use Human Torch doesn't do a lot on defense. He's not there for that.
No.
But we'll see. I think we'll experiment. I think right now it's still offense.
All right, so Spartan 7 will open this one up to all 3 of you, starting with Dark. And I don't think there is an answer to this at the moment with the meta the way it is. What is the best arena defense?
Don't
right. I guess, that's such a great question, because it really is I think it's Phoenix, Ultron, and then 3 other metas,
Yeah.
and that's just probably it. Some kind of tank, and I think that I run
Vision.
Yeah, I actually run and I stay within the top 5 with I think Vision, War Machine, Phoenix, Ultron, and sometimes I put in Falcon, because my Falcon is pretty strong. And sometimes I put in Colossus instead. So yeah, I just think there's really no good defense for arena these days.
The best arena defense team is being on 7 minutes before payout. That's the best arena.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sorry for insulting arena, Dark. I know you like, that's how you came to us. And I know that's like you and Wall still challenge each other all the darn time, and you actually take it seriously and do it. So my bad. Okay.
Oh, whatever floats your boat.
All right, so the last community question is from Big Boss, and he asked the question, which teams do you find across obviously all your wars, even up against guys like Cabal? What team do you think is the best AW defense team in the game before Coulson drops?
It has to be offense and defense, or just war in general?
Just war?
This is just for war defense, this one.
War defense.
What is the team we get the most wins on? Is it Technerva?
It's probably Technerva.
Technerva with Thanos.
Or if you have a really clever Ultron team that can throw somebody off, I guess that's what people seem to get themselves hosed down, or they just oh god, what was it?
Sometimes a good brawlers team will
especially in the right room if they've got like the right buffs. Like if it's you start with disrupt, or you start with defense down, and you start with defense down, and the brawlers run over you. You're like, oh right, I didn't get my first turn before 3 of my guys were already stuff like that.
Absolutely. Do you have an example of like a surprising Ultron team that has given you grief before?
There was that one word we got snuck up on by, I can't remember if it was I want to say it was like Shield.
No,
they put Trooper in. Was it Trooper?
It was Cabal with X-Men and Ultron on defense.
Oh yeah, that's right. Extra.
That one was awful.
Defense. Like,
take out Wolverine, put Ultron in, and put him in the slot 8 of every room in war.
Oh, it was gross. That was just gross. Yeah, good surprise, guys.
I think Doctor Strange is underrated with Ultron, because everybody now it's like an easy win with power armor. So I think Doctor Strange or Korath are like the 2 people that can kind of throw a wrench in things. The ability blocker, the buff flip. Ultron, I think is pretty easly countered at this point.
Yeah, it's what do you pair with Ultron to make it actually work, and if you're not prepared for who's with him, that's when you get hosed. It's not Ultron, it's who's with him that if it plays together. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so that's all the community questions, but there's one question that I asked the other alliance that I'll give the same thing to you. So you mentioned earlier on that obviously people have this perception about what these top alliances are, that you have everything maxed, that you only pick things for yourselves, like you guys mentioned. So, I mean, Ambassador, like, what do you wish people knew more about PantsofHulk? Or what are some of the misconceptions that people have about you guys that just isn't true?
I think people... I don't know. I think people think that we're stiff, that we don't have fun, that we're all kind of a somehow we're a pack of loners. Like that makes any sense to be loners but in a pack. That we don't play well with others, which is funny because the whole reason that works is because we play well together. I also think we have some sort of gigantic bankroll, and that we just buy everything all the time and without any mind to it. We're just spend. We're not. We're gamers. We like Marvel. We've read the comic books. We tell stupid jokes back and forth that are puns based on the comics and the movies, and we love this stuff. We're not here because it just, we want to impress somebody with our wallets. We like playing these games. We like playing these games together. Number one, and number two is we like solving puzzles, figuring out the challenge, make a spreadsheet, figure out the best team. If I run this with this and that with that, and who does what, and like all that kind of stuff. It's
I think we really are students of the game, and I don't know if that gets kind of emphasized enough.
Oh, the theory crafting and the talking back and forth about who would pick this and that. And, well, what if you use this instead of that, or when you use the special instead of the ult? And then there's so much of that talk, which is the best. The best part of the game for me is sitting in Discord in those like theory crafting chat back and forth, like, wow, okay, what if? And it's just so much fun.
And what about you, Dizzy?
I guess for me, the thing that even shocked me when I joined the cluster to begin with was like, it really isn't that different from most people's alliance. It's more that it's like-minded. So if you take the top 4 people in 10 alliances, and you put them all together and then you pick the 24 best, that's exactly what happened. So it's not like we're crazy, like Al said, we're not just like throwing money at the game to become better. It's just we happen to be a collection of 24 people that play probably way too much and spend some money, and like more than anything, we just like play all the time and learn the ins and outs of the game. And also it's not required for us to like 7-star a character right away, or every team has to be at this thing and you got to donate 200,000 cores a year. Like none of that exists. It's more like donate your 125 cores, do your raid energy, your keys, and then like be here and have fun and be part of the team and do your best. That's kind of it. It's not like crazy cult or anything like that.
And just roll with things. For example, I don't think anyone ever called him Dizzy before tonight. I totally made that up on the spot, but you called him Dizzy the entire time. And now I'm never going to not call him Dizzy. This is awesome.
Nice.
I've been punking people in Discords for far too long to be upset by you calling me Dizzy. So you can do whatever you want.
I'm rolling with it, bro. You're done.
Well, when your baseline for yourself is either being called malcontent or dismal, I think anything that's going to be an abbreviation of that's going to be beneficial, right?
Yeah, it's all fine with me.
Absolutely. Well, look, thank you so much for your time, guys. For those that missed the intro, these are the top members from the PantsofHulk Alliance. So thank you very much for your generosity of time. First of all, to you, Ambassador.
It was wonderful, Chewburger. Thanks, man. Anytime for anyone from Brisbane, from Brizzy, we will always make time for you, bud.
Boom. Done. Beers inbound. Dark Femme, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Excellent. And Dismal Content, thank you very much, buddy.
Thanks. If you guys made it this far, we appreciate you listening and hanging out. Thanks.
Oh, you'd be surprised. A lot of people, I bet you would get some follow-up things where they go, why wasn't this 4 hours long? All right. So for more content, make sure you head on over to alternatereality.com. And until next time, cheers.